Hello, welcome to the review of graphing and writing sine and cosine functions. Don't worry, it won't be all that bad, I promise. Alright, so we're going to graph this function right here. It is the sine of 3 theta minus pi over 3. Now, from earlier we learned to graph the period first, and we get the period from that 3. So we're going to write this as 2 pi over b, which is our 3, and this is going to tell us how many times the function will repeat, how often the function will repeat itself. This function will repeat itself every 2 pi over 3 radians. So we're going to graph our period first, our mini function. So to do that, what we do is we want to say, well, each of these tick marks is pi over 6 units. So I just want to make a ratio. This is put this over 6 and pi. I need to find out what x will be. And that's pretty easy. If you multiply 3 by 2, we get 6. So if you multiply the 2 by 2, we get, that's right, 4. So this is saying every 4 tick marks we're going to repeat ourselves. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1 2 pi over 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another 2 pi over 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a 2 pi. And of course go backwards as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's our negative 2 pi. So this is our sine curve. So I'm just going to draw one cycle of sine. Remember, sine starts at 0 and ends at 0. And in the middle it is also 0. Sine goes up. So here it is at 1. And down here at negative 1. Just remembering what the graph looks like makes these a little bit easier. And there's our sine curve. And I continue the pattern here to here. So there's my sine curve, here to here. There's my sine graph. And continue going backwards. There's my zeros. There's sine. Whoops, missed it. Just continue the pattern throughout. That's the neat thing about trigs, I think, is that they all have patterns to them. And there's our sine graph right there. Now, what we're going to graph next is everything else. Now, this has an amplitude, there's our amplitude, of 1. Let me draw that in blue here. Our phase shift, this is a hard one, there's C. Our phase shift is pi over 3. Now be careful, each tick mark is a pi over 6, so we get to pi over 3, we have to go to the right 2. That's how we get pi over 3, because it's 1, so pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, which is pi over 3, and that's how we get that. The vertical shift, there is none. So I list out my transformations. C goes first because it's on the inside, and this tells me to go right, again, pi over 3, or 2 ticks. 2 little tick marks. The amplitude is 1, that's not going to affect our graph at all, and there is no vertical shift, so we're okay. So all we have to do is take each point and move it to the right 2 places. 1, 2. I'm going to do mine in purple. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, and we get our graph. Now, once you get the one pattern down, you could probably just get the rest, because remember the pattern is going to repeat itself. And we continue the pattern through the entire graph, because we want to get the entire function. It takes a little bit of practice, but if you do it enough, you will get pretty good at these. And there's our function right there in purple. Right. The next one we're going to graph is the cosine, negative cosine of pi over theta plus pi over 2 minus 2. Now, This has no period change, so we're okay. So our period is going to be 2 pi over 1, which is just 2 pi. That's our normal function. So for this one, I'm just going to go first graph my period, which is my normal cosine curve. Cosine starts at 1 and ends at 2 pi for one cycle. And at pi in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. There's pi. And pi over 2. 3 pi over 2, and I just graph it across here. And at pi, we're at -1. Back to 0 at 3 pi over 2, and there's our cosine curve. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and graph it for 2 cycles. So here's negative pi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's negative pi. What happens when you eat too much pi? It becomes negative pi. And 1, 2, 3. Back here and at 2 pi. So there's our one complete cycle. And you get the world famous Wernow function. Okay? Now, our amplitude, well, we have kind of an amplitude right there, but that's more of a vertical reflection, so the amplitude here is our A is just -1. Well, that just means reflected vertically. There is a phase shift. Now, we always do the opposite, so if it's positive, that means we're going to go left pi over 2. Now to go left pi over 2, remember each tick mark is pi over 6. So that's 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6. We have to go over 3 pi over 6 to get pi over 3 tick marks to get pi over 2. So that's 3, so we can go left 3 ticks. Vertical shift, that's our D, that's -2, which means we go down 2. Now, just like our transformations earlier, just going to list them out in the order. Always start with the inside first, it's order of operations. So this says to go left 3 ticks first. That's my first step. Next, take my y value and I reflect it. So I'm going to reflect the y values. And then we're going to go down 2 units. Alright, so ready? Everything gets, do this in purple. Left 3, 1, 2, 3. Reflect it, that's pretty easy. 0, down 2. Be careful, 1, 2. Be careful of scale on this one. There's that point. Left 3 ticks, 1, 2, 3. Reflect it. Ooh. When I reflect this one, it's going to go to +1 and then down 2. 1, 2. Right here. That's pretty easy. Same point right here. Left 3, 1, 2, 3. Reflect it. Down 2, 1, 2. Over here. Left 3, 1, 2, 3. Reflect it to -1. Down 2, 1, 2. Left 3, 1, 2, 3. Reflect it, easy breezy, down 2, 1, 2. Now, hopefully, we kind of have we're kind of back to where we started, right here. So, and if you notice, what I want you guys to notice right now is, I've completed one cycle because I'm going up here and I go all the way around. I'm back to going up again. And once you recognize you completed a complete cycle, you can just continue the pattern. And this is, if you think of it kind of like slope, ready? This is over 1, 2, 3, up 2. So 1, 2, 3, up 2. Over 3, 1, 2, 3, down 2. Over 3, 1, 2, 3, down 2. And you can kind of complete the pattern. Makes it a little bit easier. 1, 2, 3, up 2. And you get your graph in purple. And there's our new graph. And of course, write the domain. -infinity to infinity, the range, be careful, counting by 1, 2, 3, -3, all the way to just -1. There we go. Alright, we will continue the rest in just a few moments on part 2. So make sure you download that part if you're having trouble. Thank you.